Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm happy to see you guys. I'm happy to be back. I hope you guys had a wonderful festive season with friends, families, or maybe by yourself. That's all right. Okay, so the festive season has come and passed. Before I do that, if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the videos. Alright, so the festive season has come and passed, and I know that some of you might have received a sewing machine as a gift because of your interest in sewing. Maybe someone decided to gift you one, or you purchase it yourself. Possibly even this one that I have. And this one that I have in front of me here is the Brother LS14. It's a very simple machine to use, very beginner friendly, basic, but very, very good. So today I'm going to be showing you exactly how the Brother LS14 machine works step by step. This video is beginner friendly, and I'll be covering everything you need to know about the machine, from turning the machine on, winding the bobbin, threading the machine, understanding the different dials on the machine, and maybe basic sewing. All right, so this is going to be a reference video, so feel free to pause, rewind, and come back to it at any time. So this machine comes with instructions. It comes with these two pieces of papers here. This one tells you all the accessories that's included in the machine, shows you the main parts, everything that you need to know, the thread tension, it shows you the buttonhole and button, how to sew those. And on this one, it shows you the safety instructions, the do's and the don'ts. I'm not going to go through all of these. It is here for you to read. Make sure and read all of these instructions. Familiarize yourself with all the important parts of the machine, and then we're going to go forward before you go on to the actual machine. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, and as I said, it tells you everything that it comes with. All right, so where am I going to start? I want to start with the foot pedal. It comes with a foot pedal. This is what it looks like, and this is how your foot should be on this. The higher part should be at the back. So it's like when you're driving and you have to press the gas, it has the same incline right here. So you put your foot this way. Make sure, don't put it that way. Make sure that it's inclined that way. Okay, and this is the part that you put into the power plug. I'll show you how this goes in. And as you can see here, there are two grooves right here on the machine. It's going to have the groove area where you have to make sure it's lined up right here. So these are things that you have to keep in mind. All right, so let's go over to the machine. Right here is a compartment that keeps all the tools that you need. And I am not sure if you can see this right here, but there's a small arrow showing you how to open it. What this means is that you slide it going that way outwards. Meanwhile, you hold this area right here, so that would help you to bring it out, and you just slide it across like that. There are two springs right here and also one here. Inside is a plastic bag with all your tools that you're going to need. So I'm going to just put this aside for now. Alright, as you can see, this machine is quite small. However, it's quite functional. It's really good. It works very well. I have no issues with this machine whatsoever. Okay, at the front here, there are two dials, and these are the only two dials that's on the machine. There are other machines that have 3 and 4 dials with different functions. Fortunately, this has only 2 dials. That makes it beginner friendly for you to use. So this dial is a pattern selection function. What you do is select whatever pattern you want, you select it from this dial. All right, so it has 14 different patterns. At the top here, this is a knob just to indicate what function you're working with, right? And to make sure that it's fully lined up so you get the best out of the pattern that you select. All right, so for number 14, this is a blind hem stitch, and this stitch here is for the stretch material, and you can see the difference. I hope that you can see. Let me bring this up slightly closer. So you can see the difference with this stitch and the next one I'm going to show you, because there are two blind stitch patterns on this dial, and this one, number 14, is for stretch material. All right, number 13 is a basic zigzag stitch, right, but it's a bit wide. I'm gonna do one of these patterns each so that you can see what it looks like. All right, number 12 is another blind stitch, and this stitch here is basically for every other material. When you stitch a hem, this is a nice stitch as well as the number 14, but the difference is 12 is for other materials and number 14 is for stretch material. All right, so number 11 is a straight stitch. The difference with number 11 is that once you turn it to number 11, it shows you here that the needle is going to be at the left. And I'm going to show you that when it comes to the needle. All right, number 10 is basically in the middle, but the only difference with this as well is that the stitch is longer. I would use number 10 if I'm doing gathering, right? Number 9 is also in the middle. The needle is also in the middle, and that is the stitch I basically use every time for everything. Number 8 is a little smaller than number 9, as well as number 7, smaller than number 8. Number 6 is tiny. It's a tiny stitch. So the lower you go with the numbers is the smaller the stitch. All right, and the reason why I'm pointing here is because you have to make sure whatever pattern you select, it's aligned with the knob at the top. Okay, so now we're going to move on to number 5. And number 5, as you can see, it has 3 different size and length of zigzag stitch. And all you need to do is look at this and see which stitch is suited for the material you're working with at the time. That's all. If you come to the right here, it has a wider zigzag, so that's like a larger stitch. If you come straight in the middle to number 5, it's like a medium size. If you go more to the left with number 5, you get a more fine, closer zigzag stitch. Number 4 is now a wider, long length stitch. Number 3 is smaller. Number 2 is even smaller zigzag. All right, so now we're on to number 1, which is the buttonholes. You have in the center here, number 1, you have AC. And if you look at a buttonhole at the top, you have some long stitches going across. This is where you will place it, number 1. And once you go to the other side to create the first line of the buttonhole, you turn it to D. It depends on which side you want to work on first. And then once you're finished with that, you'll go back to number 1, and then you'll go to B, right? So it starts with B, AC, which is number 1, and D. All of this, I'm going to show you how to make your buttonhole. Okay, and that's it. This is just all what it is here. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the tension dial. So the tension dial also have a tiny knob right here at the top, and that would let you know that you have your numbers lined up with this. All right, so it starts from 0 to 9, and from 0, that's a very loose stitch. You will get a loose stitch. Number one, you'll get even a loose stitch, right? And until you come, if you notice here between 5 and 3, and it has a dash between these numbers are most likely the better selection for your tension. If you pass that and you go over to number 6, going to number 8, 9, and so on and so forth, your stitch now is becoming very restricted. It's tighter and tighter. So always know what tension you need in order for your machine to function. All right, so we finish these two here. I'm going to show you, this is the reverse stitch. There's an arrow here, and the arrow goes around like that. The arrow goes around. I'm sure you can see it right here. What this is just to tell you that this is what you press for your reverse when you want to reverse at the beginning of your stitch and at the end. So once you have to reverse, you stitch about 2 stitches on your material, and then you bring this down and it goes back, and you just go back a couple of stitches. You don't really have to go back too far, and you let it go, and then it continue coming forward, and at the end you do the same thing. All right, so all right, there's an interesting hole right here. I never had to use this hole, right? I never had to operate this. But this hole right here is the buttonhole fine adjustment screw area. So what it means is that once you're making the buttonhole, and it shows you right here the diagram, if you're making the buttonhole and the buttonhole, the stitch is quite loose, then what you do here, you put, I think there's a screw that you can use, a screwdriver, and it has a plus sign and a minus sign. If it's too loose, if your buttonhole is too loose, what you need to do is go right here and you tighten it. You turn it towards the plus sign, and vice versa. If it's too close and you don't want that type of stitch, you do the same thing and you turn it towards the minus sign. A lot of people don't have to use this because it's basically set to give you a good stitch, but sometimes you just never know. If you have to use it, now you know why. Although that's it right here for these 4 tiny functions. So before I go up top here, I'm going to turn the machine to the side, and at the side here is your turning wheel, and this turning wheel is what turns so that your machine needle can move, and I'm going to show you all of that as well. Okay, so right here there are some little holes in order to give it so that it can have ventilation, because the motor is somewhere around here. This is your on and off switch, and here's where you plug in your power socket, right? So remember I was saying to you earlier that there are a couple of grooves right here, right? And then you have these 3 sprungs. So the same thing, you see these 3 holes? These 3 holes and those 2 grooves all has to line up with this right here. So for example, the groove is on this end and my groove is here. I cannot turn it this way because it will never go in. It has to turn the correct way in order for when you plug that in, it goes in just like that. So remember that, all right? Let's turn this all the way around so you can see everything about this machine. There is this little groove here so that when you put your hand inside, it's easy to carry and it's quite lightweight. All right, so that's it. You have all the information back here as far as the model, just in case if you're looking for a needle or extra foot or something, you have that there. All right, so that's it. Nothing much to show you back there. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you about this machine is that this machine, I believe anyone can use it, because for one thing, it is numbered, and it also has the diagram to show you how you should turn the thread in order to get it thread correctly. It is such an easy machine to operate. That's why it's so much it is so good for a beginner, it is so good for someone who just starting out. Okay, so at the top, this is your spool pin for your thread. A lot of people see this spool pin down and they leave it like that, not knowing that they have to pick it up. Because if you think about it, this is your thread, and look at the height of the thread in comparison to this knob here. So when you put this on, the thread will never stay straight, right? The thread would, you see, the thread would just lean on one side or something like that, right? So before you put the thread on, always pull this up. Don't be afraid. A lot of people pull it as though it's going to break. As long, it's a very good thing that this goes down, because there are some machines that have these and they don't have the option of pushing it down, which can prevent it from breaking. That's one of the things I absolutely like about this machine. So before you put your thread on, you pull it up and then you put your thread on. Okay, so that is your spool pin, and this shorter one here is for your bobbin, and this is your bobbin stopper. There is a diagram right here that shows you exactly how you thread your bobbin. It shows you exactly what you have to do, right? And then it shows you again here how you thread your machine. Everything it needs to, it shows you right here. And right at the side here, if you have your machine in front of you, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Right here is number 2 with the arrow going down. And right here is number 3 with the arrow. And this shows you the arrow have a bit of a curve in it. This is showing you that it is supposed to go around this dial. Once it goes around this dial, you'll see a number 5. So obviously you go up. And whenever you go up here with your thread, you have to turn your dial to bring up this lever. And this is a, let me bring this closer again. Right, so I don't know if you can see this lever in here. This is a thread take up lever, right? And this has to be up once you're threading the machine. And when you go up here, there is an arrow that shows you when you go up, you come across, and then you go down, and there is number 4 right here, right? And it shows you, you bring the thread down. To come down, the thread need to be on the left. Going up, it should be on the right here. It goes up, and once it goes up behind here, it comes across, and then go down on the left. And once you come down to the left, you're going to see number 5 right here. And a lot of people forget this hook right here. Please don't forget this hook right here. This is the one right above the needle. That's where you put the thread, and then you have your needle, your thread towards the back. Okay, the next thing I want to show you on this machine is that sometimes you may not see your scissors right away to cut your thread. There is a thread cutter right here. So sometimes if you can't reach your scissors quick enough, you can cut your thread right there. All right, so now that we have the machine plugged in, let me put this is your foot pedal again. A lot of people get it confused with foot pedal and presser foot. Right? So that is your foot pedal. And this is your switch where you can switch on your machine. And once you switch on your machine, a light is supposed to come on. If it's not on, that means that your bulb probably blow or something like that. So I'm going to show you. Once I switch this on, you're going to see the light reflection right here. See that? Okay. So that's on. Right, so this screw right here, this is for when you want to when you want to take out or replace your needle. So you turn that towards you, and you turn it towards you as much as you can until the needle becomes loose, and then you take it right out. When you are replacing your needle, if you turn your machine this way and have a look right where you take the needle from, you're going to see a hole. And when you're putting back your needle, you have to make sure the flat part of your needle is towards the back, and you will push this needle all the way up in this space right here until you come to a stop. Once you come to a stop and it's fully up, then you turn this back, you turn the screw, then you turn the screw and tighten it back. You know how to do that. All right? So this foot here is your presser foot. And with this presser foot, you can just take your finger and push it down and it comes right off. There is a bar right here. That's the bar going across there. And right under, let me bring this closer. Right. Okay. Okay, so now you can see there's a groove right here. And this is where you put right on the presser foot in order to attach it. So you use this lever here. This is the presser foot lever. You use this to raise the foot and also to lower the foot. This right here. Okay, so what you do here, you can hold your foot with like this with your thumb and your index finger, and you just place it right under. You don't have to put too much effort into it, as long as you place it right under the groove. And once you have it centered under the groove on this right here, what you need to do is use your presser foot lever and just bring it down. And once you bring it down, it should hook onto the presser foot, and you need to test that just to make sure that it's correct. So what you do now, you will lift your presser foot lever up to make sure your foot is up as well, right? Then you can put that back down. Say for example, you want to change your foot out for another foot, right? You, as I said, you press that down, but there's another way you can do that just in case if you want to change the whole thing. There's a screw right here where you can turn this and remove everything. Some foot come with their own attachment, so if you have to take this off, you just screw this off like that and just attach this whole thing back on, and then you have it all set. All right, so this area is called a flatbed. For this machine, it's quite small. Even if you put back in this flatbed attachment here, it's not much bigger, right? And it still works. I use this machine on a regular, so this is not very big. Our next step is I'm going to tell you about this plate. So now we are on to the other area of this, which is the needle plate. This is called the needle plate. Here's where the bobbin is held. This is the bobbin door. When taking off the bobbin, it shows you how you take it off. You slide it towards you. So you put a little pressure and then you just bring it, not too much, just slightly, just a little pressure, and you bring it forward and you remove the plate. Always keep your plate safe, because you never know. These things can go, these things can get lost. All right, so right here is where your bobbin is. And if you want to clean this machine, all you need to do is unscrew or loosen these two screws and lift this whole plate, and then you'll be able to dust inside. I believe I'm going to be showing you all of that at a later time. Now, if you want to take out your bobbin, you take out your bobbin like this. All right, so that's as easy as it gets. Down here is quite small, so you can imagine how the dust can build up real quick. So please clean your machine at least twice, 3 times a month. It depends on how often you use it. All right, so that's that. Okay, so let me go. I think that's it. Let me go here before I thread the machine and everything. Let me go here and I'll show you what's in this plastic bag. Okay, so One thing I have to say first, I couldn't find the screw driver that came with this machine, so this one belonged to another machine. All right, so this foot on the machine is, you can use this for zigzag as well as straight stitch. All right, so let me bring it closer so you can see. One of the reasons why you can use it for a zigzag is because the space in here is quite wide, wide enough for all the patterns that's on this selector dial. Okay, so let's just put this foot back on. All right, so next this comes with a buttonhole foot, right? And this buttonhole foot, it's self-explanatory. It's for buttonholes. I'll show you how it works. So once you have your things, I would recommend that you put these things right back into the bag because they're quite easy to get lost, right? Okay, so the next one is the zipper foot, and you will see how this zipper foot is. It looks as though it is not complete, but what it does, it has the same size basically it has space here to accommodate the zip. And this zipper foot, you can either sew it from the left or the right. I'll show you how that goes as well. It comes with needles, and I'm not sure if it comes with 3 bobbins, but most likely it comes with 2. But if it's 3, it's 3, right? Because I mix up all my bobbins with everything. All right, so with that, it comes with, as I said, needles. And optional, it comes with this, I believe. And this is an embroidery foot. I believe it comes with this. If it doesn't, then this comes from a different machine. However, you can use this on this machine, okay? And this doesn't come with it. I actually put it there myself, just for my own use. All right, so one of the things I'm going to do, I am going to thread the machine and do all of that so you can see how it operates. I'm going to place these back in the compartment here, and as I mentioned, you have this hook, this kind of hook right here that hook into that space, and these 2 prongs that goes inside here. I see people try to put this back on and not checking this. If you don't check this, it's likely that you will break this. All right, so make sure you check that this is aligned with this area here. Okay, so let's just do that. So first, you see the space right here. I didn't just go and push that here because then this would not fit. All right, so what you do, you align this compartment just like this, and once it's aligned like that, then you slide it across and you slightly push it, and there you go, it's in. It's not, please don't put too much force onto anything because it's not really necessary. All right, so now we are at the stage where I want to show you how to thread the machine. I showed you that you must always pull this up before you place your thread. So I'm just going to pop the thread on. And next I'm going to take this empty bobbin and I'm going to place it onto the bobbin spooling pin right here. Take a bit of the thread and I am going to place the thread right between this thread guide. This thread guide is also used to thread the bobbin, to fill the bobbin, and also thread in the machine. So what you do first is take the thread, and there's a wire, a little hook wire right between here. What you do, you just place the thread right between that, and you can see that it's not moving, it's not coming out because it's hooked on the wire. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is for the bobbin, this is a wheel right here, and this is a tension wheel more or less for the bobbin. So you're going to take the tail of the thread as well and just place it around the wheel like that. And as I said, it's just so that it holds the tension, so it winds onto the bobbin correctly at the right tension. All right, so what you do here, at this point you can either, at the top of the bobbin there is a hole right here, and the same thing right at the bottom, there's a hole on each side. Some people thread put the thread through one of the holes. Some people do that. I don't, because I think that take too much time. If you choose to do that, you do that. Look, and you have a bit out. You place that onto the bobbin um, spool pin right there. And what you do here, you can take the end of the thread and you just bring it around in between the opening of the bobbin right there. You can do that, which is good, right? But I don't like that. Personally, I don't like it, right? So what I do with this is just have a little bit left back, just the same, only the difference is that I don't put it through the hole. You just have a little thread, and right at the top here, obviously the thread, some of the thread is here, and you take your hand and you wind some of the thread straight down to the end of the tail onto the bobbin. I find that much easier. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you wind some thread onto the bobbin. After you finish that, you're going to push this towards the bobbin stopper. It can be a bit stiff, but you just push it straight. Once you push that to the stopper of the bobbin, what it does, it disengage the needle. So it stops the needle from moving up and down. All right, so now we're going to press the foot pedal, and when you put your foot on the foot pedal, remember I said you have to press it, and your foot pedal should be like this on the incline. The incline should be at the back, and your foot should be like this on it, right? And you press it gentle and slowly. And while you do that, you keep an eye on your bobbin to make sure, even though you have it thread up the correct way, sometimes the thread can just pop right off and start filling underneath the bobbin instead of on the bobbin. So always keep an eye on your bobbin while it's winding on. Okay, so here we go. So if you look at the bobbin, you can see it's starting to fill up. All right, so I'm not going to fill no more. That's because I have a full bobbin of that same thread. Just want to show you the basics of how to do that. So once you finish that, you cut your thread. And once you cut your thread, this tension dial here for the bobbin, you just release the thread from around that alone. The thread remain in the thread guide right here. And if you notice right away, the thread falls in number 2. Because this number 1 and it falls right in number 2. This is number 2 right here. You want to take off your bobbin, you pull your bobbin away from the stopper and you just remove it. Okay, so that's that. Once you remove the bobbin, this is the full one, so just want to show you. So this is how it was on, and you take it off. And just how the thread is going this way anti-clockwise, that's how you take it off. So once you take off the bobbin, you hold the bobbin in your hand in the same way you take it off from the bobbin spooling pin, right? You don't turn it this way, you don't do nothing to it more than keep it with the thread going in the same position. Let me just wind back some thread onto it. Okay, and this is how you're going to drop the bobbin right inside the bobbin holder. So I'm going to bring this closer so you can see. So that's as close as it gets. You notice I still have my bobbin holding in the same position. So I'm going to grab a hold of the end of the thread right here. Maybe you can take out a little bit more. Make sure you have sufficient, right? And you're going to drop the bobbin right into the bobbin holder right here. And you still have the end of the thread holding, okay? Earlier when I was describing the different parts, different parts of the machine. Remember I told you about this arrow exactly right at the door here. This shows you how you need to place this thread. There's a hook inside the bobbin door right in here that you need to put the thread in. Some people find it quite difficult. It can be tedious, but all you need to do is just turn it with a bit of a tension. And if you can't just do it just like that, what you do, you can hold your bobbin down. Meanwhile, you hold your thread a bit taut, and then you just bring it across. I'm gonna get closer so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I brought this a bit closer so you can see. I am not sure if you can see this hook. It's a bit blurry, I don't know why. And if I go too far, it's going to have that glare and it's going to be too far for you to see. This might be a bit better. Alright, you see this hook right here? This is where your thread need to be. So I'm going to grab my thread and see if you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, you can see, first of all, look at the bobbin. Look at the bobbin, and I'm going to pull it, and you see how it is turning. So when you put your bobbin into the machine and say you want to test it to see if it's in right or whatever, you can just pull the thread, and if it's turning that way, you have it right. You need to make sure that your thread is in line with this arrow. That's the arrow I was talking about. It's not very clear. Let me switch the machine off. Right, so the glare go away, but then it's kind of dark. All right, no problem. If you have the machine in front of you, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, and you leave it just like that. You have the bobbin door here. We're not going to put that on yet, so we rest that aside. What we're going to do next is thread the machine. And you're going to see how I thread the machine. It's quite simple, and you don't have to be overwhelmed or feel scared. It doesn't matter how you put the thread down. If you put the thread so that it goes this way or this way, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's one thing, because I notice a lot of people want to know how you put the thread on. You just put the thread down, that's it. This is one of the easiest bit there. Okay, so as I showed you before, there is the diagram here that shows you exactly how to thread the machine, whether you using the bobbin or you threading the rest of the machine. So what we're going to do is to take the tail of the thread. Right, so you have the tail of the thread in your hand, and you're just going to put it in the thread guide. Remember what we did here when we were filling the bobbin. It's the same thing. You take it and you put it right between here where the wire is. So I'm going to lean the machine forward so you can see exactly what I'm doing again. So what you do is just put it right between, just make sure it's all the way in where the wire inside is gonna hook onto the wire. But there's a wire inside here that you need to hook it onto. Alright, so this is it here. Okay, and that's it. Remember, this is only when you're filling the bobbin. You just put it there and we come down to number 2. So you're going to come down into this slot, and then this, you see number 3 right here, and it shows you the arrow, a curved arrow. That means it goes around. A lot of people tend to have problem going around this. It's not that difficult. Please don't put too much effort and fuss. All you need to do is take this. You're the one who is in control of everything about the machine, right? You take your thread and you just go like that. You don't, some people is like they are looking to, no, you don't do all of that. You take this and you just take it and go around. That's all, right? So once you go around the tension dial here, you come up to number 4, and if you notice where my thread is, it's leaning towards the right side over here. Okay, so my thread is leaning towards this side, right over there. You can always look at the diagram on number 4 and it will show you. Okay, you see where my thread is? My thread is over here, and you have to go all the way back. Once you go all the way back, the arrow here shows you exactly what you do next. My hand is here, and all I'm gonna do is bring it across. That's exactly what the arrow is telling me. And after that, it's telling me now to come down. And what that action does is thread the thread lever. That silver, the silver lever in here. That's why I said to you earlier, always make sure this is up. Even when you finish sewing, make sure this is up, and I'm going to show you why. All right, so once you do that, you come, okay, so now once you finish that, you come down now to number 5, right? And number 5, there is a hook here right above the needle that you need to put the thread to. A lot of people tend to forget this hook. All of these thread in here helps with the tension, right? Even though this is the tension, you still need to thread it correctly, so that helps, and also help the machine to have the correct stitch. All right, so I hold the thread in my left hand and I grab the tail in an L shape. So you have it like this and you go like that, okay? And once you do that, you take your right hand, and your right hand is the one that guides it into that hook. So you hold this again in your left hand, right? Then you hold the tail in your right to create an L. The right hand is the hand that guides the thread into this hook, and it's just that you put it right at the back, and that's it. I hope that you see that. I'm going to do that one more time so that you can see, because I know a lot of people, it's kind of difficult, and I understand the difficulty. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. You grab the thread. Once you bring it down from number 4, you grab the thread in your left hand. Then you grab the tail of the thread in your right to create an L. And what that does, you're going to use your right hand to basically put the thread behind this hook. And if you look, you can see exactly what I'm doing. And it's hooked. That's all. And you just take your right hand with the tail of the thread and just pull it down. That's it. Okay, that's all you do. So what I normally do before I thread the needle, because sometimes the thread might have a rough end, so I like to make it smooth. So I would just clip it like that, so I have a very smooth end. Then after that, I will thread my needle. Always make sure the thread is straight down on the needle and not wrapped around. And if it's wrapped around, please remove that wrap. Sometimes it can curl around the needle, but you have to make sure, because if you notice when I thread it, I grab hold of this and then I help guide it, because it can easily wrap around the needle. I help guide it so it comes straight down in front of the needle. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do, you're going to lift your foot up, your presser foot. This is the presser foot lift. You're going to lift that up. You're going to grab hold of the top thread. I mean this thread right here. So this top thread, I am going to be using this thread to pick up the bottom thread. And when I say the bottom thread, I mean the bobbin thread. So you grab hold of your top thread, you keep it like this in your hand, your left hand preferably, because what you're going to do is you are going to use your right hand to turn the wheel. And when you turn your wheel, please ensure that you turn your wheel towards you at all times. Turn your wheel towards you, never go back. Always turn your wheel towards you. Okay, so when I turn the wheel, you're gonna see what happened. All right, so I have the thread in my left hand here, and what I'm gonna do is bring up the bobbin thread, right? So I'm gonna take my right hand, you can see my hand here, and I'm gonna turn the wheel towards me so that the needle, all right, so I'm gonna turn the wheel towards me. You can see the wheel, the needle, you can see the needle going up and down, right? And this is the bottom thread here. Let me put it here so you can see when it comes up, because it's something to look at, right? So turn the wheel towards me, the needle going down, and when it goes down, what's gonna happen? It's gonna, whatever mechanism is underneath here, it's gonna go down and grab the bobbin thread. And if you look close, okay, so I wish if you can see this. So right here you can see the top thread went across here and grab the bobbin thread. So once you grab the thread, you keep turning the wheel until you see the thread come up above, right under the presser foot, right? So you just turn it, and also you kind of move the top thread and help it up. Take a tool and put it right through the loop of the bottom thread that just came up, and you just pull it out like this, and you can see it right here coming out, right? You can see it right here. This is my top thread, this is the bobbin thread. So once that comes out like that, you grab hold of the two threads. You can see them right here. You can see it here, right? Right, so what you do, you grab hold of your two threads and you put that right between the toe and you just send it back. And you cut the thread to a certain length and leave it back there. After you finish that, you take the bobbin door. I call it the door because, you know, you take the bobbin door and you just place it onto the section right here, and all you do, the same how you slide it off, all you do, you just slide it until you hear click. Okay, so I believe that's it for this demonstration. Keep hold of your these sheet of papers, these information here, because you're going to need them in the future, right? Something to refer back to whenever you run into difficulties with your machine. All right, so that's all for this part of the this tutorial. So what I'm going to show you next is how you change the needle and how you replace it. Okay, so say for example the needle broke. First you need to find your screwdriver. Put those aside. Right under here, right, so this is the screw that you need to loosen in order to take out your needle. You're going to take your screwdriver that comes with the machine, and you just turn it slightly. If you notice what I did there, turn it slightly, and then I'm going to loosen the needle. And you don't have to loosen it too much before. While you're loosening the needle, you hold on to the needle. You don't have to loosen it too much before you feel it in your hand loose, right? Right, so after you take out your needle, you're going to dispose your needle safely in a safe place. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to grab your new needle. And as I was saying before, this needle, the needle for this machine, it has a flat back. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see the flat back. And in the front, it has a rounded front, right? And the round bit is what facing you. This flat back, what goes to the back, all right? So when you putting in your needle, hold it the correct way first. You can't just say, oh, grab the needle and put it in. You gotta hold your needle exactly how you're gonna put it in. So you put it in, you're gonna put it in with the flat back to the back. So you're just gonna make sure the rounded part of the needle is facing you. And you hold the needle more to, you see right where the needle point is and where my fingers are. You hold the needle about there. You don't want to hold the needle up here, because this is the bit that has to go in so the screw grab hold of it. So you hold the needle more or less to the end of the point, right? Make sure the flat back is facing that way to the back, okay? All right, so what you're gonna do here, you're gonna put your foot down, right? So we're gonna take the lever and put the foot down. Make sure that your needle, the area where your needle come out from, I can't remember what they call that. You make sure it is at its highest point. Always make sure it is at its highest point, right? And then you're gonna have your needle in your hand. You're gonna, as I remember I told you, there's a hole that the needle comes out from. You see where the needle is? I'm pushing it in, and when you push it up, you push it up until it can't go any further. And if you there is a point right above the screw area going across here. There is a point up here with a very tiny space, and it looks like you have a little dot, right? And you can see that is the bit that have that is as far as your needle goes. So if you look right at the top here, once you see your needle right up here, and you also feel it, you know that you reach the point. Okay, I hope I'm making myself clear. Right above where the screw is here, this long piece extended over, right above it, there is a tiny bit of iron and a space. Once you put the needle in that hole under here, you're gonna see above here where the needle head is, and that is where you're gonna feel it hit that point actually, but you can also see it. You can also see it, and you're gonna feel it. And once you reach that point, then you tighten your screw. You can tighten it with your hand if that is good, but to even tighten it more so it doesn't fall out when you're sewing, you can use your screwdriver and just give it an extra tightness. And that's all. Okay, so when it comes to maintaining your machine as far as dusting and all of that, the plate here, there are 2 screws that you need to remove, and we're also gonna lift the foot again. By the way, you know, when you finish with your needle, you finish put your needle in, you thread it again and all that, so you know all of that. Okay, so we're gonna change the plate. We're gonna move the plate, because I'm gonna show you how you remove this and just dust inside. It's quite small and compact. So what you do, you take the screwdriver that your machine come with, and if it doesn't come with a screwdriver, you can use any screwdriver. I think you can even use a penny on this, and just turn the screws until they are loose. All right, when you finish, make sure and take out your your screws, when you're taking them out, please place them in this, just to make sure that they are safe. Alright, so to take this off, you can use anything and lift it up. First you need to open the bobbin door. You don't really have to do that if you don't want, or you can just take something and pick it off. Alright, so what you do here, you just lift that up and you remove your plate, and you can see what this looks like here. It's quite compact. It's quite compact, and yeah, that's it. So you take out your bobbin. You can take out your bobbin before or after. It doesn't really matter, right? And you put your bobbin aside. Another thing that you need to take out when you're cleaning this is the bobbin, basically the base or the bobbin holder. Take out the bobbin holder, and this can be very tricky for some people. Alright, so once you take all of this out, what you do, you get a brush and you can brush around the bobbin area, because this area is what accumulates a lot of dust. And you can see here I had a bit of dust under here. Alright, and then you can, but it's not very big, and it's not much you can do here. And you just brush your machine, keep it tidy, and trying to keep it as lint free as possible, because then you'll get the best out of your machine. Once you keep it good, you get the best out of it. And you also dust this compartment as well. You make sure and dust this, keep it clean. You do the inside and the out. Okay, so you have a look at this bobbin holder. I call it the bobbin holder. They probably call it something else, but regardless of what they call it, it is to put the bobbin in. Alright, so yeah, so this is the slit. So this is the slit I was telling you about. When you're threading the bobbin, you slide the thread right behind this slit right here. Okay, so yeah, so this is the bobbin holder. Remember, I took it from here to clean it, because these are the things you have to do. But when you're putting it back in, you have to make sure, and this point have to be facing back. And there is a knob. There's a knob right here. This now have to be right here. Once the machine start working, this bit here, it goes around and it hits there. It doesn't go any further. So you have to make sure and put it in the correct way. So I'm gonna take this, the bobbin holder, and you notice how I have it here with that peak at the top. I'm gonna place this in just like that. Make sure that you have it. If you notice, just have a look at how I'm doing this. These are the different things you have to know. Right here, and this extended iron bit. You have your bobbin holder, and you have this flat bit right here. You have to make sure, and if you notice how I'm doing, I'm putting the bobbin holder in like this, right? So you have to put it in like that in order for it to fit under that. All right, and then you make sure everything is set. You make sure everything is set. You check it. Check it to make sure it is. You see, you check it to make sure everything is lined up correctly. Because if it's not gonna sew right. So what you do, you turn the wheel, and you look at this to make sure it's moving how it's supposed to, and that the needle is not bouncing on anything. So you do that a couple of times very slowly, and just make sure everything is good. And if it's not, you take it out and try again. All right, so you place this back on and make sure that you put it on just like that. And you see how this is open? I always recommend you close that just before you either take out or put the screws back in, because if it falls in here, it might be a problem to find it. You see how small the space was. Okay, so now we're gonna just screw these back in. Okay, so now we have the needle plate secure. You open back the door, and the bobbin, we put that back in. Remember how I showed you how you put the bobbin in? And remember the slit guide that I showed you, where you have to make sure that it goes, that the thread goes behind that. Remember all of that. And remember how I showed you the thread lever. The thread lever should be up. And remember how I showed you how to thread the number 5. You have to thread in your right hand, then you grab a hold of the tail, make it into a L, and you use your right hand to thread number 5 hook. All right, you sharpen the end of your thread just so that you get to thread the needle much smoother, and then you thread your needle. I grab hold of the thread here because I want to make sure it lie down straight down on the needle front. Then I would lift the foot up, turn the wheel, and which allows the needle to go down and pick up the bottom thread. And you also try to help it up, right? Once the bottom thread come up in a loop, you get a tool and you just pull it through. Once you're done, you grab hold of the 2 threads and you place them through you place them between the toe and send it to the back, and you just cut your thread off. And now some people, when they're putting on this door, they start from over here and struggling. No, you don't need to, because these 2 extensions here have nothing to do with these 2 here. These 2 here are for the end bit, okay? So when you put in this door back on, you pass all of this and you put it as close as possible so that these 2 find their place, and then you just slide it in until you hear click. Yep, and that's that. After that, you put back all your tools in your bag, fold your bag up, place it into the compartment here. Remember, your first step is to make sure this hook is aligned at the back first, and also this is flush against the top. Your first thing is to make sure this hook is lined up here. And then once it's lined up, then you can just slide this over like that. And that's that. So another thing I wanted to show you, but I think I'm gonna leave this out for now, and then say, for example, if it happened to go out, then I'll do a short video to show you how it works. And it is the bulb. Right now I don't need to change the bulb, but if you need to change the bulb, always make sure and switch off your machine first. First things first is safety. You make sure and change it. I have never changed the bulb on this, thank God. But if I have to change the bulb on this, I would have to, this bit here need to come off. I don't, if I have to do that at any point, I will do a video and show you. But at the moment, if you need to change your bulb, refer back to the leaflets that you get in your package for your machine. Okay, so what I want to show you, the final thing I want to show you on the machine, we're going to do a basic test on the machine, right? And you're going to see the different stitch and how it works. So I have this scrap right here. It's a scrap. And right now, the stitch is on 9. I'm not going to show you all the different stitch because they're the same, they're just different sizes. So if you're sewing, your presser foot is up, right? I remember you use your presser foot lever to lift it up, right? Make sure your thread is at a certain length, because if it's too short and your lever is down, the thread is going to come out of the needle. So always make sure you have a certain length of thread at the back here, so that even if your lever is down, your thread would remain in the needle, right? So always remember that. Okay, so now say you're making a project, you're working on a project. So I'm just gonna fold this, and your presser foot is up. You're gonna put the material under the foot, right where the needle is, and then you're gonna lower the foot. Once you lower the foot, then your foot should be on the foot pedal, ready to start. Also, when you start, we're going to reverse, and then we're going to continue. So when you do the reverse, you make a couple of stitch first. So I'm going to make a couple of stitch first. You press the pedal foot, just calmly make sure that all your things are set on your machine. Make sure your machine is correctly placed in front of you, you're sitting comfortably, all of that. Make sure you have all your tools with you, everything. Just make sure you come to sew a project, you have your pins, you have your needles, you have your scissors, you have your seam ripper, you have everything, you have your tape measure. Make sure you have everything in front of you. Okay, then you continue here. So we're going to start stitching, and I'm going to start with a couple of stitch first, right? And I made a couple of stitch, so I need to reverse. I'm going to press this, and while I have this press, then I'm going to press the pedal, and it goes back just a couple of times. Then I release that, then I continue. I press the pedal and continue to stitch. Alright, and that's all I'm going to do. Say for example I come to the end and I want to reverse. I do the same thing. I press this down, I press the pedal, go back a couple of stitch, I release that, and I come forward with the stitch, and that's it. Then you lift your presser foot and you cut your thread. And this is basically what you do. You reverse at the beginning and reverse at the end, just to secure your stitch so it doesn't come apart. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Number 5 was the 3 different sizes of zigzag. I'm just going to show you one, and this is in the middle, right? So you're going to see so this is a zigzag stitch right here. That's in the middle. If I go to do this one at the very end, this tiny close one, it's going to be really close. And if I do this one on the right, it's going to be a little wider. And I'm going to do number 4 so you can see. And when you're sewing, Please keep an eye on all parts of your machine. Even though I'm focusing here, still keep an eye on your thread, because your thread can end up going under the thread and then it becomes too tight and pop. Right, so this is number 4 stitch. This is a nice zigzag. And then if you want it smaller, you go to 3 or 2. The next one I'm going to show you is our buttonhole. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take out this zigzag foot or the everyday foot or whatever. I'm going to put that aside. Then I'm going to go into my compartment, slide that across, and take out my zipper foot. Okay, so this is my zipper foot, right? When you put your zipper foot in, there is an A at the top here, and this is what goes to the back. It's not this way. The A you should be able to see that it's an A. So what you do, the same way you put this foot on, is the same thing you do here. The only difference, it has this moving bar in the middle. And obviously, why it's moving is because when you go to do your buttonhole has to, this have to move in order to shape your buttonhole. So what you do here, you press that down on the bar. Let me do that again. The bar is right here, the same as the other foot. And all you do is you put it under the groove where the groove is, and you bring down the presser foot lever right on top of the bar. Okay, so with this, you will need to make sure your top thread is long enough, right? Top and bottom both, and you just take them to the back. Alright, so it depends on how big your button is. You'll have to mark out your buttonhole, right? So I'm going to mark out my buttonhole. And you can see the buttonhole mark right here. So this is where I'm going to make my buttonhole. This is where my buttonhole is going to be. So what you do next is place your fabric under the buttonhole foot, right? That's how you do that. You put it under your buttonhole foot. You set your machine to wherever you want to set it to, right? Remember, you have the B that's on the left, you have 1 AC, and you have the D, which is on the right. You can start anywhere you want, but I'm gonna start with number 1, right? It depends on how big your buttonhole is. You have these, let me take this out and show you. You have these red lines going along the left side of the buttonhole foot. These are the size indicators. So that goes there. And this red line in front of me here, what I'm going to do is line it up with my first line on the buttonhole. Right, so you can see I line up my red line here with the first line on the buttonhole. And I have this on 1. That's gonna be my first stitch. out a bit so you can see. Alright, so I have this on one. I have the red line lined up on my first line, and then it shows me that this is where I'm gonna start. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just put my foot down and just start off that. I like to do that just to make sure it's doing the right thing. And then I'm gonna press the pedal. Make sure you hold on to your fabric, but you don't pull, you don't tug. Remember, the feed dog is the one that's gonna guide the material. I mean, gonna move the material. So you don't have to pull or you don't have to push. You just have to let it be relaxed. But at the same time, you hold on to it so that if it decides to go its own way, you still guide it back to where it's supposed to be. All right, so here we go. And you make this going across here, you make about 6 stitches or so, no more than that. Right? Once you finish, the needle comes up. And then I'm gonna work on D, that's on the right side. So then I'm gonna just move this over to D. Once you finish that, then you press your pedal and let it go. Okay, once you reach the point where you mark, then you stop. Always when you stop, your needle should be up because you're going to be making changes. Then after you finish with D, we are going to go back to AC, right? Because we're going to make the white stitch at the bottom. So you do that about 6 or so times. Alright, so that's it. The needle is up, and now we're going to go over to B. Right? And you leave it at B, and then you keep going. Okay. So my buttonhole is done. Okay, so the buttonhole is finished. So what I'm going to do next, I would go back to number 8. That's a smaller stitch, and that is just to tack it off. So I'm going to make a couple of stitch and press. And once I make the couple of stitch, what I'm going to do is reverse and then come forward, and that end off my buttonhole making. You lift the presser foot and you take your material out and you cut your threads. Right, so that's the buttonhole right here. Okay, I hope that is clear, and if not and you run into difficulties, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Alright, so you press that down and you take your buttonhole foot out. You slide the compartment door open, you take your plastic bag out and you place your foot back in your plastic bag, and that's it, right? You put back your presser foot, and then I'm going to show you how to do a few other stitches. I'm not going to try number 14 because this material is not stretched. Let's go to 13. Alright, so I said that this was a zigzag stitch, but it is a zigzag stitch with a twist. And you can see it's a zigzag stitch. The only difference, it doesn't have one thread going back and forth. It has small stitches going each direction, but it's a zigzag stitch. For 12 and 14, this machine doesn't come with a blind foot stitch. I mean with a blind foot. I'm gonna look for the blind foot, see if I find one, and then I'll come back and show you what number 12 stitch looks like. Okay, so I found a blind stitch foot. And the thing is with these machines, why I like these machines is that they're so versatile, right? You have the option of using different foot on these machines, and that's the beauty about them. So always keep that in mind. It's a great investment, and I like that about this machine. So I found one. It belonged to another machine, and it fits this perfectly, I'm sure. Okay, so we're gonna do that. It has the same bar. Remember, it's the bar on the machine. That's where you're gonna clamp down the presser foot on, right? So take that out, and then the groove goes right over that bar. So oh, it fits. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, so that fits. So I am going to. I think this is gonna be too. This is gonna be too thick. Yeah, I think this is going to be too thick, plus it's too small. So I'm going to use this piece of material here, right? Well, always make sure you use the corresponding thread to match your work, right? This is only for demonstration purposes. So, for example, this is the hem that I turn, and I am going to I'm going to place the material under the blind stitch foot, right? So, for example, this is the hem. And what you're going to do is just turn your hem up like that. And when you put down the foot, you got to make sure this bit is just maybe basically a 0.2 or something away from the fold that you're doing here. And I would recommend that you test to see how far the needle come over to this, because when you stitch it, remember it's a blind stitch, so when you stitch the hem, you don't want to have too much thread showing on that side. You just barely want to pick up a little bit of the fabric. So what I recommend you do is just turn the wheel a couple of times and see where it see how far it comes over. So when you place the material underneath the blind stitch foot, you got to make sure this bit right here is like a folding piece. Make sure it's just a little way out, maybe 0.2 centimeters or so out. But if you're not sure, what I normally do is turn the wheel a couple of times, because basically what you want to do, you want the needle to pick up just a little bit of this, part of the material. Remember, it's a blind stitch, so you don't want the stitch to be shown too much on that side, right? So let me show you. Now sometimes the needle come over too much, and it picks up too much of the material. So once you do that and you're happy with how far the needle come over here, then you continue. Alright, so I'm not going to go any further. Lift your foot, take your material out, and you cut your thread. I am not sure if you can see the stitch. The thread is is kind of close to it, but you can see the blind stitch. Alright, so when you bring over that, you should not see. First of all, if you use the same, like a corresponding thread, you would see exactly, but it's not too bad, but you can see a little bit of how we pick up the material. So that's all. That's the blind stitch for you. So this would be the outside of your trousers leg. This would be the inside, right? It's really good, so you don't have to worry about hand stitching, hand hemming, or whatever, you know. But that's it. So I believe I covered everything here that you need to know about this machine. We did you know, I showed you how to thread the machine. I showed you the leaflets that come with the machine, right? I showed you the power and basic safety, how to keep yourself safe with this machine, show you the program dial, and I showed you the tension dial. I also showed you how to wind. I also showed you how to wind and fill the bobbin. I showed you how to insert the bobbin, right? I showed you how to insert the bobbin, and I showed you threading, how to thread the top thread of the machine. I also showed you how you can bring up the bobbin thread, right? Changing the needle, which is very important. Changing the light bulb, I did not actually do, but I showed you if in the case where you need to change the light, I mean, if you need to change the bulb, I'm sure it shows you here how to do that. You will have to remove this part here, but always make sure to switch off your machine before you do anything like that. All right, and the last thing I did was show you the basic stitching and how all the stitching work, whether it's the buttonhole, the zigzag, and all of that. It's quite basic, but it's functional, and it's also a very, very good machine to use, and a very good machine for a beginner. I use this machine all the time, and it works fine. I make a lot of things from this machine, and it comes out fine. All you need to do is make sure, always make sure your bobbin is thread correctly. You do it exactly how it's supposed to be done, and you thread the top of your machine correctly, right? And that is a complete beginner guide to this Brother LS14 sewing machine. Alright, so this video is here for you to come back to anytime you need a refresher. In the next episode of What's on My Table Thursday, we'll start our first beginner sewing project and put everything we've learned into practice, okay? And I believe that you will enjoy that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot of people who are watching the videos and not subscribe. Please subscribe to help my channel to grow. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.